Okay, so for this basic shirt sleeve, this basic short shirt sleeve, what I'm showing you guys now, the measurement I'm going to be working with. I have my pattern paper already, so the measurement armhole is 16 inches. So that's 16 inches. Now to get what I'm going to put on fold, I'm going to be dividing 16 inches by 2, and I'll go ahead and add 3 inches. I might not use that entire 3 inches, but just to be on a safer side, so I folded it and I just cut it out. I had to use my pin. You see it's in two, so I had to, with the center part of it where there's no fold facing me, so I used my pin to hold it down so it doesn't move. So at this point now, I'm actually marking my 1.5 for the hem my of my sleeve. You can go ahead to use maybe 1 inch as the hem, or you can use 2 inches. I think anything hem is totally dependent on you, and then again about the amount of fabric that you actually have. Then from that line now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be marking 10 inches for my sleeve length. That's what I actually want to use. This sleeve is not going to get to the elbow. It's actually just a short shirt sleeve. So if you also want to make it longer, you can follow the pattern here and the way that I did it, and just extend it all the way down to the length that you want. So I'm marking my 10 inches here, and I used my ruler to extend the lines into a straight line. So once I was done doing that, from that start point, that point here now that you see me, I'm actually going to mark my 4 inches cap height. My 4 inches cap height. So 4 inches cap height is actually a standard for cap height. Many people use it and it works perfectly. Now, what is the cap height? The cap height is the distance between the upper arm and then the lower arm. You understand? The upper arm that is around the shoulder area, and then the lower arm that is going into the armhole. So we are trying to get that difference. So after I was done marking that, then I went ahead now to label my patterns. As you can see, my start point line, my cap height of 4 inches. That's from my shoulder, from the start point line, the shoulder area there, to the cap height is 4 inches. And then I also labeled my hem. So after I was done doing that, this pattern was actually disturbing me so much. So I used the chalk and then my scissors to hold it down so that it can stay in place. So once I was done doing this, now I'm going to bring in the basic bodies that I had drafted already. I'll bring in my basic bodies at this point, and I'm going to be measuring my armhole line, the straight part there. So I'm going to measure from that point here to that point, and I had 7 inches for mine. Yours can be something different, it depends. So on the cap height line, I'm going to be inserting that 7 inches. So this is actually the very beginning of creating our sleeve. So I'll bring in my ruler at this point, and I use a straight part to create a slanted line from that 7 inches into the very start point of my sleeve. This very start point of my sleeve, the center part. So once I was done doing that, I'm going to also use my ruler again to derive the midpoint of this slanted line. So here when I measured it, I had 8. So the center point was 4. You can also go ahead and fold your tape like I did here. And then once I was done doing that, on that center point, I marked 1/2 inch upwards. Now this is to help us create that curve that we see. You know, the armhole is actually not straight, it's curved. So we're trying to create that curve. So as I was done doing that, now I'm going to use my curved line, and I will connect from that 1/2 inch that I've made on the center point of that slant into the start point of my sleeve. And then I'll also do the same thing on the down part, but this time around I'm using a straight part. See what I'm doing? From the center point to that 7 inches, I marked it all the way straight down. So once I was done doing this, the next thing I'm actually going to do now is to derive the quarter of this of this slanted line. And how am I doing that? From the center point to the upper part, I divided into 2. I got the center point. Then from that center point also to the down part, I divided into 2, and I got the center point. So as I was done doing that, I'm going to go up the one on the upper part. I'll be going up by 0.25. Now at this time, now as it's looking like this is actually a back sleeve. Now I'm trying to create the front, but the part that will face the front. So I'll go up by 0.25. Once I was done doing that, the one that is coming down, I'm going to go down by 0.25. Please don't forget the one that is actually coming upwards, 0.25, and the one coming down, 0.25. So now look at what I'm doing with my marker. So this is how you're going to connect the lines together with your curve. So I'll use my curve. From that start point line, I'm going to mark into the quarter 0.25 and also into the half, the midpoint, sorry. And then I'm also going to do the same thing on the down part. From that midpoint, I'm going to connect to the 0.25 downward, that's coming downwards, and also I will connect it into the 7 inches line, the 7 inches that we had created earlier. So at this point, I was just trying to make sure that I place my curve well, so that I'm able to get a very perfect curve. So I connected the lines, and once I was done doing that, you're going to see what it looks like, more like an S or something. It's a slight S or something. So after I was done doing this, I will bring in my patterns again, and I'm going to use my tape to measure around that armhole. And once I was done measuring this, I had 0.25 for the back, 0.5 for the back. Then I'm going to also start again from that 0.5, and I will measure the round armhole for the front. Once I was done doing it, I'm going to now divide it into 2. When I finished, I had 22 inches, and then I divided it into 2 places. When you divide into 2 places, you have 11 inches. Okay, so that 11 inches, we're making sure that maybe our sleeve is not shorter than our armhole, or our armhole is not actually shorter than the sleeve. So that 11 inches, you are going to mark. You're going to also, what you did on, you're going to just look at what I'm doing. You will use your tape to also measure it and make sure that you have 11 inches. So once you get to 11 inches, you mark it. At least now you are sure that your sleeve is not going to be shorter than your armhole, or than your armhole line. Neither is your armhole line going to be bigger than the sleeve. They'll be equal by the time you are going to fix this sleeve onto the armhole. So I used my ruler, my curve at this point, and I just blended that part up, and I highlighted it the more so that you can see it well. So once I was done doing this, the next thing I did, now I came to the length of this, and I measured my round, the largest part of my round armhole, sorry, my round arm, and my round arm was 10. So 10 inches, if I divide it by 2, I have 5 inches, which I'm going to insert on that line. So I'll insert my 5 inches, and I'll go ahead to add my allowance for stitching. So the allowance I'm going to be working with is going to be 1.5. I wanted to use 1 before, but I just said let me use 1.5. You can use 1. 1 is actually very perfect. So after doing this, now I will just connect the lines together. At this point, I'm connecting allowance to allowance. So I'm just going to connect the lines together like you see me doing in this video. Okay, so after I was done doing this, if you notice, I did not connect the line up to the hem part, because since I'm going to fold the hem into 2, I needed to fold it. And also because if I go straight, I will miss the line. I needed to fold it first of all, and then get and mark that point, so that I can, when I'm folding it, I don't lose some fabrics, okay, while I'm folding. So you'll see what I just did there. Then I will use my ruler, and I will just connect the line now. At this point, look at it, it's now looking a little slanted. So anytime you're about to cut your sleeve or anything down, this is how you're supposed to do it, especially when you know that it is not entirely straight, the upper parts, so that you don't go ahead and lose some fabrics when you're folding. So I'm going to use my marker at this point to just show you how you're going to cut this when you're doing that. So guys, mind you, this part I'm pointing out now is actually the back, for the part that is going to actually face the back. When we're done doing this, I'm not going to show you, I'm going to cut out the front and show you. So I've cut out the back right now. So now I'm going to show you how you're going to just cut out the front. I'm using my marker to show you when you cut it out. So after you are done doing this now, it means the other part is going to, when you're placing the sleeve, the other part is actually going to face the back part, and then this other part is going to face the front. So the part that I actually highlighted is going to go off. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it now. So when I was done doing it, I had to put them together so that you see it well. Now the front is now deeper than the back. Now what this does is that it helps you to reduce those excess bulge that is usually on the armhole, around the armpit area. So I labeled it, guys, and this is actually the end of this tutorial. There's nothing else. It's very simple. Like I told you, if you want to make it a longer sleeve, you can just go ahead and use the same method and just extend it into a longer sleeve. So thank you so much, guys, for watching my video. Please make sure that you subscribe to my channel and also hit the notification bell. Thank you.